My beloved child, there is a shift happening in someone's heart tonight, and if you have felt a strange pull in your spirit lately, if your chest has tightened for no reason, if their name has crossed your mind in quiet moments when nothing around you should have reminded you of them, it is because the bond between you is moving again. Something is changing beneath the surface, something they themselves do not fully understand yet. The distance that once felt manageable to them no longer feels simple. The silence they once used to distract themselves has started speaking back. And what they are beginning to feel now is not the kind of missing that passes in an afternoon. It is becoming deeper than that. More personal. More undeniable. They are starting to miss you in a different way. At first, they tried to treat it like a passing emotion. A temporary thought. A random wave of nostalgia. They told themselves perhaps they were only remembering a version of the past, perhaps they were simply lonely, perhaps their heart was playing tricks on them. But then it kept happening. In the middle of ordinary days, while doing the simplest things, your memory would rise in their mind without warning. A song they did not expect would remind them of your energy. A sentence someone else spoke would sound like something you once said. A familiar place would suddenly feel heavier because you were not there to share it with them. And slowly, what they first dismissed as coincidence began to feel impossible to ignore. Because this is no longer just memory. It is recognition. They are not merely missing your presence, they are beginning to understand the space you occupied in their life. There is a difference. Missing someone can be brief. Missing what they meant to you, that changes everything. Stay till the end, because something important is waiting for you in this realization. They are no longer just thinking about you because they are curious. They are thinking about you because part of them has started to recognize what life feels like without your energy in it, and they do not like the emptiness they are discovering there. The truth is, when you were close to them, they may not have fully understood what you brought into their world. Human hearts often realize value in hindsight. Sometimes a person only recognizes warmth when the room turns cold. And now, they are looking around their life and quietly noticing that something has been missing for longer than they admitted. Conversations feel less alive. Achievements feel less satisfying. Attention from others feels flatter than before. The things they thought would distract them, no longer distract them the way they used to. Because what they are craving is not noise. It is connection. And the connection they felt with you was not ordinary. That is what is unsettling them now. They are beginning to understand that not everyone reaches them the way you did. Not everyone sees through them the way you did. Not everyone challenged their heart, softened their defenses, stirred their emotions, and made them feel simultaneously safe and vulnerable all at once. That kind of bond is rare, and rare things become unforgettable when lost. There are moments now when they sit in silence and wonder if you still think of them. Wonder if you still care. Wonder if perhaps they let distance grow too far, if perhaps they stayed silent too long, if perhaps they misread what this connection truly was when it was standing right in front of them. And that thought lingers with them longer than they want to admit. Because regret has a quiet way of arriving. Not all at once. Not dramatically. Sometimes it enters gently. Through memory, through reflection, through the painful awareness that someone meaningful is no longer as close as they once were. And what they are feeling now carries traces of that realization. A soft ache. A growing awareness. A question they cannot seem to silence. Why does their absence affect me this much? Don't skip, because this is where everything becomes more powerful. They are starting to miss not only the version of you they knew, but the future they once unconsciously imagined with you. The little possibilities they never admitted aloud. The conversations they thought there would be more time for. The closeness they assumed could be revisited whenever they wished. They are realizing now that some connections do not wait forever in the same form. Some people are gifts whose value becomes clearer only when distance reveals the truth. And that realization is reshaping them. Even if they have not spoken yet. Even if pride still sits in their throat, even if circumstances have slowed their actions, internally, something is moving. Their heart is no longer as guarded as before. Their certainty about staying distant is weakening. The emotional walls they built to keep everything controlled are beginning to crack in places they cannot hide from. Because feelings that are real do not stay buried forever. They rise. They return. They demand to be felt. And what is rising in them now is deeper than simple longing. It is emotional recognition. It is the understanding that your absence has taught them what your presence meant. That is why their thoughts of you no longer feel casual. That is why your name lingers in their mind longer than before. That is why even when they try to move their focus elsewhere, something in them circles back to you. Because their heart is no longer remembering you casually. It is reaching for you. But here is the part many never speak about. When someone begins to miss you in this way, it often comes with fear. Because once a person realizes how much someone matters, they must also face the possibility that they waited too long. They must face the possibility that the one they miss may no longer feel the same. They must face the vulnerability of admitting that what they once downplayed has now become undeniable. And that is where they stand now, between longing and hesitation. Between emotion and uncertainty. Between wanting to reach out, and wondering whether they still can. Something inside them is wrestling with questions they never expected to ask. Would they even want to hear from me? Do they still think of me? Have I already lost what mattered? These thoughts visit them more often than they show. More often than they would ever confess openly. Because when someone starts missing you differently, they begin seeing you differently too. They replay your words with new understanding. They revisit old moments and notice details they missed. They recognize care where they once overlooked it. They understand your heart in ways they could not before. And suddenly, the connection no longer feels like a pleasant memory. It feels like unfinished destiny. There is a reason your spirit has felt this stirring. There is a reason your intuition has whispered that something behind the scenes is shifting. Energy changes before actions do. Hearts move before words are spoken. Internal battles happen before outer choices are made. What you are sensing is not imagination. It is movement in the unseen spaces between two hearts still tied by something unfinished. Yet hear this clearly. Do not mistake their missing you for immediate action. Missing someone deeply and acting on it are not always the same timeline. Some hearts need time to process what they are feeling. Some people must wrestle with themselves before they become brave enough to move. But the emotional shift has begun, and once someone reaches this stage, it becomes harder for them to pretend they feel nothing. Because now, even their distractions betray them. Even busy days fail to silence your memory. Even laughter with others leaves strange quiet spaces afterward. Even moments of success feel incomplete when the person they wish could understand them most is not beside them. And perhaps what unsettles them most is this. They thought distance would lessen what they felt. Instead, it clarified it. They thought time would blur your significance. Instead, it sharpened it. They thought space would help them move on. Instead, it made them realize who still lives in their heart when everything else fades. That realization changes a person. It humbles them. It softens them. It forces honesty. And your soulmate, whether they have admitted it yet or not, is being brought into that honesty now. They are beginning to understand that what they feel for you was never as simple as they once told themselves. It was never ordinary affection. Never temporary fascination. Never just comfort or convenience. It was something with roots. Something with depth. Something that followed them even after distance. And what follows a person through distance, through time, through silence, matters very deeply. So while you may not yet see the full outcome, while the final expression of this shift is still forming, know this: their heart is not where it used to be. Their emotions are not as controlled as they once seemed. Their certainty about staying away is weakening with every passing moment they continue to feel your absence. Because they do not simply miss you now. They miss the peace they felt near you. They miss the version of themselves that emerged around you. They miss being understood without over-explaining. They miss the warmth, the depth, the emotional safety, the spark. And most of all, they miss the possibility of what the two of you could still become. But what they are about to realize next may be the part that changes everything. Because missing you is only the beginning. The moment a heart fully accepts what it has lost, action often follows in ways no one expects. And that realization is drawing closer than they know. There is something they have not admitted to anyone. Not even to themselves in full, and it is this: the more they try to understand why your absence affects them so deeply, the more they realize the answer frightens them in the most beautiful way. Because this is no longer about simple attraction, passing affection, or sentimental memory. What they are uncovering now is far more personal than that. They are beginning to understand that losing access to you did not merely create loneliness, it exposed attachment. Real attachment. The kind that forms when someone touches the hidden parts of a soul and leaves an imprint too deep for time to erase. And now that imprint is stirring inside them with a force they can no longer dismiss. In quiet moments, when no one else is around and there is nothing left to distract their thoughts, they replay the smallest things about you, the details most people would forget. The way your presence shifted the atmosphere of a room. The way your energy made ordinary conversations feel layered with meaning. The way your attention carried warmth even when your words were simple. It is no longer the grand memories haunting them most, it is the tiny, intimate details. Because when someone starts missing you in a different way, they do not just remember what happened, they remember how you made existence itself feel while you were near. And that is what they cannot replace. Others may have entered their life. Others may have spoken to them, laughed with them, offered them companionship. But something has felt strangely incomplete in every comparison they never intended to make. No one carries your exact energy. No one reaches the same emotional depth. No one creates the same internal stillness and excitement at once. And this is becoming impossible for them to ignore. They are learning that connection is not measured by how many people surround you, but by how deeply one person can affect your inner world. Don't skip, because this next realization is changing them from the inside out. They are starting to see that what they once viewed as emotional intensity may have actually been emotional truth. They may have pulled away before because what they felt with you was overwhelming. Not because it was wrong, but because it was real enough to scare them. Some people retreat not when they feel nothing, but when they feel too much. Some hearts distance themselves from what matters most simply because they are not yet ready to hold something that deep. And now, after time apart, they are beginning to understand that the very intensity they once resisted is the reason they cannot forget you. There is a tenderness growing in them now that was not there before. Their thoughts of you are softer, deeper, less defensive. They are no longer only remembering your presence, they are appreciating it. Appreciating the patience you gave. The understanding you offered. The care you carried. The emotional honesty you brought into their life. They are seeing your heart more clearly now than they did when you stood directly before them. Strange how distance sometimes sharpens vision more than closeness ever could. And with that clarity comes ache. Because they know, somewhere inside themselves, that you gave them something meaningful. Something rare. Something many search for and never find. And the possibility that they may have mishandled that gift weighs heavier on them than they let anyone see. There are moments when they wonder what you think of them now. Whether you have healed. Whether you have changed. Whether your heart has moved beyond them. Whether someone else now receives the version of your love they once had access to. And that thought unsettles them more than they expected. Not because they wish to control your future, but because the idea of truly being replaced in your heart awakens something urgent inside them. For the first time, they are not just missing you emotionally. They are feeling the pressure of time. They are beginning to realize that hearts do not wait forever in the same place. Opportunities do not remain untouched forever. Connection, when neglected too long, can transform into memory. And the deeper they understand your value, the more they fear discovering it too late. That fear is not panic. It is awakening. It is the moment someone realizes they can no longer assume you will always be there whenever they decide they are ready. It is the moment the comfort of someday begins to disappear. It is the moment the heart whispers, if I do not move, I may lose something I cannot replace. Stay till the end, because this inner shift is leading them somewhere they cannot avoid. They are reaching a point where memories are no longer enough. Thinking of you is no longer satisfying. Wondering about you from afar is no longer enough to quiet what they feel. The emotional distance between thought and action is shrinking. Slowly. Quietly, but undeniably. They may still hesitate. They may still question themselves. But the silence that once felt sustainable is beginning to feel unbearable. And when silence becomes heavier than vulnerability, people change. That is where they are moving. Toward the realization that risking honesty may hurt less than continuing to wonder what could have been. Toward the realization that some people only appear once in a lifetime in the exact way you appeared to them. Toward the realization that if they keep pretending they do not care this deeply, they may spend far too long haunted by what they never said. So if your heart has sensed movement, trust that instinct. If your spirit has felt unusual stillness before a storm of change, trust that feeling. Because beneath the quiet surface, something extraordinary is unfolding in them. They are not merely reminiscing. They are awakening to the truth of what your connection meant. And once a person fully understands the worth of what they almost lost, they rarely remain the same. But the most powerful part of this story has not happened yet, because the next thing they are about to realize is not just that they miss you. It is why no one else has ever made them feel what you did, and that realization may leave them unable to stay silent much longer. What is beginning to unsettle them most is not simply that they miss you. It is that no matter how carefully they examine their feelings, no explanation seems strong enough except the one they tried hardest to avoid. Because they have started asking themselves a question they once resisted with everything in them: why does no one affect me the way this person does? And the more honestly they sit with that question, the more impossible it becomes to escape the truth. You were never just another connection in their life. You were never temporary. You were never ordinary. You reached a place inside them that very few ever touch, and now that they have felt life without that connection close to them, they understand its value with a clarity they never had before. They notice it in the strangest moments. A laugh from someone else that does not land the same. A conversation that feels pleasant but strangely hollow. Attention from others that should flatter them, yet leaves them unmoved. They keep encountering reminders that chemistry can be found in many places, but resonance, true soul-deep resonance, is rare. And once a person has experienced that kind of connection, ordinary interactions begin to feel dim by comparison. That is the realization quietly transforming them. Because now they understand they were not attached merely to your presence, they were attached to how deeply they felt seen by you. There was something in your energy that reached beyond appearances, beyond surface conversation, beyond performance. Around you, they felt understood in ways they did not always know how to explain. They felt challenged, comforted, awakened. You mirrored parts of them they had hidden from the world, and perhaps even from themselves. Few things affect a person more profoundly than being truly known and still deeply valued. Don't skip, because this next truth is where longing becomes undeniable. They are beginning to recognize that what they miss is not just what you gave them, it is who they became around you. The softer version of themselves. The more honest version. The more hopeful version. The part of them that believed in something deeper, something meaningful, something that could not be easily explained. Your presence awakened dimensions of their heart they had not visited in a long time, perhaps ever. And now, without you near, they can feel those parts of themselves growing quiet again. That silence hurts more than they expected. Because to miss a person is one thing. To miss the version of yourself that only existed when they were near, that is another kind of ache entirely. And so they find themselves returning to memories not because they enjoy nostalgia, but because those memories are the closest they can get to that feeling again. They revisit old conversations in their mind. They remember moments they once brushed past casually and now see as precious. They think about things you said that carried more meaning than they understood at the time. It is as if the emotional significance of your connection is still unfolding for them, long after the moments themselves have passed. And with every new realization, one truth grows louder. They did not lose something ordinary. They lost something rare. That thought has begun to humble them. The certainty they once carried has softened. The emotional distance they once maintained no longer feels justified. Even their pride, the pride that once kept them silent, has begun to feel less important than the possibility of reaching for what matters. Because pride offers temporary protection. But regret lingers. And they are starting to understand that if they let this connection drift too far without trying, the regret may stay with them longer than their fear ever would. Stay till the end, because something inside them is reaching a breaking point. There are nights when they cannot explain why your memory arrives so strongly. When the quiet becomes thick with thoughts of you. When they wonder what you are doing, who you are becoming, whether your heart still carries space for them. They imagine what it would feel like to hear your voice again, to stand in your presence again, to tell you what they were not ready to say before. These are no longer passing fantasies. They are emotional rehearsals for possibilities their heart desperately wants to revisit. Even if they have not acted yet, their inner world is moving closer to that moment. Because a person can only suppress genuine feeling for so long before it begins demanding expression. And what makes this different now is that they are no longer merely feeling drawn to you. They are understanding why. They understand now that your connection did not fade simply because circumstances changed. They understand now that distance did not destroy what was real. They understand now that time has not weakened your impact on them, it has revealed it. And that realization creates a powerful urgency inside the human heart. It whispers, some bonds are not meant to be forgotten. It whispers, some people return to your thoughts because they still belong in your story. It whispers, if someone remains in your heart after all this time, perhaps they were never meant to leave it. Your soulmate is hearing those whispers now, whether consciously or not. And as they do, something is shifting from reflection into desire. Not just the desire to remember you. The desire to reach for you. To bridge the silence. To test whether what still lives in their heart might still live in yours. Because once someone realizes that what they feel is not fading, but growing, distance becomes harder to justify. And the next phase of this awakening may be the most powerful yet, because they are beginning to sense that missing you is no longer enough. Soon, their heart may demand more than memory.